make sure to go check out this website, Ants Paradise. They make all sorts of cool ant stuff. They make founding pods for when it gets too hard to start test tube feeding them. They make like little nests. They make founding like starter kits. They will sell the ants themselves. I think I've seen them sell like test tube stuff. They're pretty cool. Let's get making one of their pods style things. Now, as we add the cylinder, we're going to want the vertices. I'm going to make it like quite high because we're going to make it quite large. I'm going to make it about 60. And the radius should be half of the width of a plastic cup plus a couple millimeters for us to work with. So this Amazon one is 7.2 millimeters. I'm going to make it 7.4. I meant centimeters. I'm going to make it 7.4 centimeters. So that's 74. Half of 74 is 37. So I'm going to make the radius 37. Using this specific menu here is often important for the sizes of cylinders because it messes with your inset numbers later. Just make sure you use this. I think that's what causes it. So I'm going to call it 37 and make the depth like, I don't know, 35 millimeters tall. It's taller than what I make them myself because I've been told that I should make them taller. So I'm going to first inset the face now that we've got our actual pod. And we're going to go insert, squeeze it, 2 millimeter thickness, or rather a 1 millimeter thickness, because 74 minus 2 is 72, and there's 1 millimeter on every like opposing side. Make sure that's a millimeter. It roughly is, which the ruler tool sucks. Then we're going to hit E, and it should already be on the axis that the face faces. And we move it downwards, and we can move that to whatever height we want, I don't care. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this face, snap the cursor to it, hit object mode, set the origin to the 3D cursor, and then make it all 0. Just make all the like location variables 0. That way whatever I put in the Z value now is the exact height of the width, of the bottom of the pod. I'm just going to make it 1 for simplicity. So now we have a 1 millimeter thickness bottom with a 1 millimeter thickness wall. So what we're now going to want to do is go into object mode again, hit add mesh cylinder, and I think the outside we're going to want to make like a bung for the inside of a test tube, because that way if your test tube has a rim or it's a different size to normal, you won't have problems fitting it into a hole, you won't have problems sliding it into something designed for a rim. Just use a bung, keep it on the inside of the test tube, it'll be fine. Now the inside of a test tube is 14 millimeters wide, or at least mine are. So we're going to make the radius 7. We're going to make the depth however long we want the thing to be. I'm going to make this 19 millimeters because that is the width of a keycap. And I'm going to rotate it by 90 degrees. Now, a lot of people choose to put their the nozzles sort of up here, and that, or like maybe a little bit off the bottom, and that does provide many benefits, but it doesn't make it as easy to print. If you're going for complete print ease, you want this to be sort of almost touching the floor. And the way that I'm going to do this is by one moment. I'm going to select the vertice that best lines up with this red line here that tells us we're along the axis. This will work on any axis. Hit mesh, snap, cursor to selected, object mode, object, set origin, origin to 3D cursor. Now where it measures the location of the object at is at this exact point. I'm again going to make that 0, 0, because 0 is an easy number to work with. I'm then going to do the same with this tube thing, and we're going to cheat a little bit, like I always do. So we're going to select the one that best fits on the back, sorry, and then we're going to go mesh, snap, cursor to selected, object mode, object, set origin, 3D cursor again. Now if I hit 0, we run into a small issue. If I were to boolean these values, the edges would be overlapping and Blender would not like that. So I'm going to raise it by a number so small that not even my slicer would notice, but Blender would. And then I'm going to move it left sort of until I see it poke out the other end. There's a bit of an experimentation, and I find that generally one click where the first value where it doesn't stick out at the end is minus 0.97, so I'm thinking maybe minus 1? No, minus 1 is a bit, so minus 0.9 is good. I'm then going to click on this cylinder, hit add modifier, boolean, take away the cylinder, hit apply, and now we've sort of got something that fits around our first cylinder. I'm also going to rename this. This is such a pain because my recording bar that I cannot move is like well in the way of this, so I'm not going to rename it. That gets really in the way. But anyway, you might notice that there is no way for the ants to currently go in here. This is not ideal. So what we want to do is take something smaller than here, maybe 12 millimeters. We're going to go cylinder. Rather than 7, we're going to go 6. We're going to turn it around again by 90 degrees. Then we're going to want it to be much longer, maybe 40 millimeters. Give it 0, 0, 0. And I'm going to do the same to these objects. I'm going to go mesh, snap, cursor to selected, object, set origin. Z is 7.1. I don't think that matters as long as the Z value matches up. So I'm going to go Z 7.1, and that is in theory right in the center. As long as the Z value of this tube and this tube are the same, and the point is directly in the center of one of the round faces, they should be fine. So I'm now going to take the first cylinder, or the second cylinder, sorry, that's hard to say, where the ants would be walking in, add a Boolean modifier, use this eyedropper tool to click on the object that we are taking away, hit apply, and now if I hit this object here, you can see that there is a hole. This is no longer hid, and I will click on this pod here, Boolean, eyedropper tool, cylinder, and apply. I'm going to delete this one, and if you look, just because of the numbers I chose, these more or less very well line up with the bottom of the pod. I also would like to mention that the reason I've put these practically on the floor is because they're much easier to print than if it was up here and being supported. My only downside with this is often test tubes will be sort of a little bit lower, like down here, which kind of puts it at an angle, and you may need to prop it all up a little bit by like a couple millimeters, which can be a pain in the long run. So if you choose to put it a little bit higher, that's up to you. Mine's at 7.1 millimeters, you can put it as high as you want.